The moment I put my hands on Lena Harper's shoulders, I knew I had crossed a line I might never be able to uncross, not because of what I did, but because of what I felt the second her body relaxed under my touch. That quiet trust, that fragile surrender. I was a single dad who had spent 2 years building walls around his heart, and she was my best friend's sister, a woman who had forgotten what it felt like to be safe. One small act of kindness should not have been dangerous, but that night, it was. It started on a Thursday night, soaked in rain. The kind of rain that feels personal, like it is trying to wash something away. I was closing up Harper and Brooks Books, the small independent bookstore my best friend Mark owned. The clock said 9:47 p.m., 13 minutes past closing, and all I wanted was to finish counting the register and get home to my daughter, Emma. She was 8, stubborn, smart, and probably still awake even though it was late. Mrs. Chen was watching her, and I hated being late on nights like that. That was when I heard the knock. It was soft, almost swallowed by the rain pounding against the windows. I should have ignored it. The sign said closed. My life was built on routines and rules now, on doing the right thing every time. But something about that knock made me look up. When I opened the door, Lena Harper nearly stumbled inside. She smelled like rain and cold air. Her cream-colored coat was soaked through, her dark hair plastered to her forehead. Mascara smudged beneath her eyes, and I could not tell where the rain ended and the tears began. "Daniel," she said softly, like she was afraid I might send her back out into the storm. "I'm sorry. I know you're closed. I needed somewhere to sit for a minute." I caught her elbow without thinking, steadying her. She was shaking. Lena was Mark's older sister. I had known her for years, but only in passing. Polite smiles at barbecues, quick hellos on Main Street, nothing more. Seeing her like this felt wrong, like I was looking at something private I had not earned the right to see. "Come on," I said. "Let me get you a towel." Quote, the bookstore after hours felt different. Dim lamps instead of overhead lights, shadows between the shelves, quiet. I handed her a towel, and she pressed it to her face like she was holding herself together by force. "My ex showed up," she said finally. "Stephen." He stood outside my apartment and talked at me for 20 minutes. About us. About how I was making a mistake. My jaw tightened. I had heard enough about Stephen Harper to know exactly what kind of man he was. "I didn't let him in," she added quickly. "But I didn't want to go home after that." I saw the light on here. I made coffee. It felt like the only normal thing to do. The gurgle of the machine filled the silence while rain streaked down the windows. Lena stood by the front glass, arms wrapped around herself, staring out at the dark street. "You're not broken," I told her when she apologized for being there. "You're just tired." Her eyes shined at that like no one had said it to her before. We talked quietly. About Emma, about teaching middle school, about how lonely safety can feel when it costs you everything else. The storm stayed loud outside, but inside the bookstore, something softened. That was when she asked the question that changed everything. "Do you know anything about massage?" she said, almost embarrassed. "I have this knot right here. It's been killing me all week." Every instinct I had told me to say no. She was vulnerable. She was my best friend's sister. I was a single dad with too much to lose. But when I looked at her shoulders, drawn tight like she was carrying the weight of the world, I saw Emma after a nightmare. I saw someone who just needed help. "There's a table upstairs," I said. "I'm not a professional, but I can try." The second floor was quiet, rain tapping against the skylight. I dimmed the lights. Lena lay face down on the table, her body stiff with tension. I placed my hands on her shoulders. Slow, careful, professional. That was the plan. Her body began to relax under my palms, and she let out a soft sound that went straight through me. Not desire, relief. "You carry everything here," I murmured. She laughed weakly. "I've been told." When my thumbs found the knot at the base of her neck, she inhaled sharply, then melted into the table. "God," she whispered. "That's exactly where it hurts." I worked in silence, focusing on breathing, on doing nothing wrong. This was just kindness, just help. Then she spoke again, her voice low and unguarded. "You're better than my ex." My hands froze. Those 5 words changed the air in the room. Not flirtation, not temptation, trust. "I mean it," she added softly. "You make me feel safe." I should have stepped back. I should have ended it right there. Instead, I stayed exactly where I was, my hands resting on her shoulders, my heart pounding, realizing too late that the line had already been crossed. The second I pulled my hands away, the room felt colder. Lena sat up slowly on the massage table, rolling her shoulders like she was testing a new body. Her cheeks were flushed, her hair a little messy from the face cradle, and she looked lighter, like someone had taken a heavy backpack off her spine. But her eyes were heavy with something else now, something neither of us wanted to name. "That helped," she said, voice careful. "Good." My throat felt tight. I cleared it. "You should ice it later. Drink water. You'll be sore." She nodded, sliding off the table. For a moment she just stood there, hands at her sides, like she did not know what to do with herself now that the pain had eased. I busied myself covering the table again, pretending my hands were steady. "Daniel," she said, "about what I said. You don't have to explain. I cut in too fast." That made her stop. I felt it, the way she stiffened, like she had hit a bruise. I turned and forced myself to meet her eyes. "I'm not mad," I said quietly. I don't want to take advantage of a moment you might regret tomorrow." Her gaze softened, but she did not look away. "Do you think that's what this is?" Quote, "This," I repeated, and the word tasted dangerous. Lena pulled her coat tighter around her. "I think last night I came here because I didn't want to be alone. That's true. I was scared. I was tired. But I didn't say those words because I was confused. I said them because they were true." The rain tapped the skylight above us, steady and patient, like it had all the time in the world. I did not. "Let me walk you out," I said. We went downstairs together, and the bookstore looked different now too, like the shelves were listening, like the quiet corners were holding on to the warmth we had left upstairs. At the door, I handed Lena her coat and kept my hands to myself. It took more effort than it should have. "If I need to talk again," she said, one hand on the doorknob, "would that be okay?" Everything in my head screamed no. Tell her to call Mark. Tell her to call the police. Tell her to call a therapist. Anything but yes. But my mouth betrayed me. "Yeah," I said. "That would be okay." Lena's smile was small, tired, real. "Good night, Daniel." "Good night." Quote, she disappeared into the rain, and I locked the door behind her like I was locking something inside myself too. I finished closing up, drove home, and tried to pretend my life was still the same. Emma was asleep on the couch with her math workbook open on her lap, pencil still in her hand. Mrs. Chen had tucked a blanket around her and left a note on the counter about soup in the fridge. I carried Emma upstairs, feeling her warm weight against my chest, and my heart squeezed the way it always did when she murmured, "Daddy, half asleep." It grounded me. It reminded me what mattered. But when I sat in the chair beside her bed and listened to her breathing even out, all I could see was Lena's face in the dim lamplight upstairs. All I could hear was her whisper, "You're better than my ex." The next morning I moved through our routine like a man walking through water. Pancakes, lunchbox, Emma complaining about fractions, the drive to school, a kiss on her forehead, her waving as she ran toward the doors like she owned the world. Then I went to work at Riverside Middle School and taught 8th graders who did not care that my mind was stuck in a bookstore with a woman who smelled like rain. During lunch, I stared at my phone more times than I want to admit. Lena had my number from a group chat Mark made months ago. She could text if she wanted. A part of me hoped she would. A bigger part of me prayed she would not. By the time my shift at the bookstore started that evening, I had almost convinced myself the whole thing would fade. One intense night. 2 lonely adults. Stress and rain and bad timing. It would settle and disappear. Then I unlocked the front door and saw Lena sitting on the bench outside like she had been waiting. She stood when she saw me, brushing drizzle off her sleeves. The rain was lighter today, but it was still there, clinging to everything. "Hi," she said. My chest tightened. "Hi." She hesitated. I wasn't sure if coming here would be too much. You shouldn't be out in this weather, I said, then immediately hated myself for saying something that sounded like concern. Concern was a door. I did not know how to close it once it opened. Lena's eyes held mine. I just needed to see you, in person, to make sure last night wasn't a dream. I swallowed. It wasn't. We stood there too long, the space between us full of things unsaid. Finally, I opened the door. Come in. Inside, the store smelled like paper and wood and the faint sweetness of the coffee grounds from last night. Lena looked around like the place had changed. Maybe it had. I flipped on the lights and tried to sound normal. Mark's not back until Saturday. You know that, right? I know. She rubbed her hands together like she was cold. I'm not here for Mark. That landed hard, honest, direct. Lena Harper did not seem like the kind of woman who played games, and that made her more dangerous. What happened today? I asked. Her jaw tightened. Stephen called. Left a voicemail. Told me he could still fix us. Told me I'd never find anyone who understood me like he did. I felt anger flare, sharp and immediate. Did he come by again? No, she shook her head. But it doesn't matter. He's in my head all the time. I wanted to say something comforting, something heroic, something that made me feel useful. But I had learned the hard way that saying too much can be a promise you cannot keep. So I did the simplest thing. I'm sorry, I said. Lena's eyes softened like she had been starving for those words. Everyone keeps saying I'm strong, like I should be proud of surviving. But I'm exhausted. I nodded slowly. I know that feeling. She looked at me then, really looked at me. Your daughter comes first. Yes. And Mark is your best friend. Yes. So tell me why you still let me in last night. Because you looked like you were going to break and I couldn't leave you outside, I thought. Because I know what it looks like when someone is holding themselves together with their teeth, I thought. Because when you walked in, I recognized something in you that lives in me too, I thought. But what I said was the only safe truth I had. Because I'm not going to ignore someone who needs help. Lena stepped closer. Not close enough to touch, but close enough that I could feel her presence. And if I need help again? She asked softly. Every alarm in my body went off. Lena, I said, warning in my voice. She did not flinch. I'm not asking you to save me. I'm asking if I can exist near you without you running. I stared at her, and it hit me like a punch. Since Claire left, I had not let anyone exist near me. Not really. I kept people in neat categories. Teacher, neighbor, Mark's sister, safe, controlled, distant. Lena was breaking those categories just by standing there. I don't know what I'm doing, I admitted. Her lips quirked slightly. Me neither. We stayed like that for a moment, balanced on the edge of something. Then the bell over the door chimed. Mrs. Patterson walked in, shaking water off her umbrella, cheerful as ever. Daniel, I didn't know you were working tonight. I'm looking for that new mystery with the cat detective. The spell snapped. I stepped back, forced my voice into normal. Of course, Mrs. Patterson. It's right over here. Quote. While I helped her find the book, I could feel Lena behind me, quiet, waiting, like she was respecting the boundaries I was failing to draw. After Mrs. Patterson left, the store was empty again. Lena looked at me. See, normal life still exists. I let out a breath that sounded like a laugh, barely. She nodded toward the stairs. My shoulder still hurts. I stared at her. I know, she rushed to add. It's weird, and you don't have to. I'm just asking. I should have said no, but I heard my own voice answer before I could stop it. Upstairs, I said, but we talk first. For real. Lena's shoulders dropped like she had been holding her breath all day. Okay. We climbed the stairs side by side, not touching, but the air between us felt like a live wire. At the top, she turned and looked at me with that same steady honesty. Daniel, she said softly, I'm scared of Stephen. But I'm more scared of going back to being alone in that fear. My heart hit my ribs. And before I could decide what was right, what was safe, what was smart, I realized something terrifying. I was more scared of leaving her alone, too. We stood in the upstairs room like two people who had walked into a storm on purpose and were pretending it was just weather. The massage table waited in the corner, covered in a thin sheet that smelled faintly of dust and lavender oil from a life Mark's ex had left behind. The lamp cast a warm circle of light across the wooden floor. Rain tapped the skylight again, quieter tonight, like it was listening. Lena set her purse on the chair and turned to face me. "You said we talk first." "I meant it," I said. My voice sounded steady, but my hands did not feel steady. She nodded once, like she appreciated that I was not trying to slip past it. "Okay, then tell me the truth." I swallowed. "The truth is I should not be doing this." Lena's eyes stayed on mine. "Why?" "Because you're Mark's sister, because I'm Emma's dad, because I built my life around not taking risks that could blow everything up." She stepped closer, careful, like she was approaching a stray animal that might bolt. "And the other truth?" Quote, I hesitated, then forced it out. "The other truth is, I don't want you to leave." That landed between us with a quiet weight. Lena's throat moved when she swallowed. "I don't want to leave either." My heart beat too hard. I tried to breathe like a normal person. This could ruin my friendship with Mark. "I know. It could complicate my daughter's life." "I know." "And Stephen," I added, and my jaw tightened, "he is not done with you." Lena's face flickered. Fear, anger, shame, all layered together. "I know." For a moment the room was silent, except for the rain. Then Lena said, "Daniel, I'm not asking you to fix me. I'm asking you not to abandon me." The word abandon hit me like a punch. Emma's voice flashed in my mind, small and sleepy, asking when her mom was coming back. The hollow look in her eyes the first time she realized the answer might be never. "I don't abandon people," I said. Too sharp. Lena's eyes softened. "I can tell. That's why being near you feels dangerous. I start wanting things." I held her gaze. "What things?" Her voice dropped. "I want to feel safe. I want to feel wanted. And I want to stop flinching every time my phone buzzes." I took a slow breath. "And you think I'm the answer to that?" "No," she said quickly. "I think you're part of it. I think you're a place to rest for a minute. And I think you're a man who knows what it feels like to hold everything together alone." I did not deny it. I couldn't. "Okay," I said finally. "Honesty, then." Lena nodded. "We don't do secrets," I said. "Not with Mark, not with ourselves. If this becomes anything, we tell him." Her lips pressed together. "He's going to hate it." "He might," I admitted, "but he'll hate the lying more." Lena exhaled slowly. "Okay." "And we go slow," I continued. "No pretending this is casual. No acting like we can separate touch from feelings." That made something soften in her expression, and it scared me because it felt like she had been waiting for someone to say that. "I can do slow," she said. I looked toward the massage table, then back at her. "Do you still want help with your shoulder?" "Yes," she whispered. "But I also want to know you still want to touch me after what I said last night." My chest tightened. The truth was yes. A terrifying, reckless yes. "I want to," I admitted. "That's why I'm scared." Lena's eyes shined. "Then do it the right way." I nodded, even though I wasn't sure what the right way looked like when you were walking into temptation with your eyes open. She shrugged off her jacket, revealing that same simple sweater, and sat on the edge of the table like she was waiting for permission. "Lie face down," I said, keeping my voice calm, the way I did with Emma when she was anxious. "Same rules. You tell me if you want me to stop." "I will." She settled onto the table, and I stood beside her, hands hovering for one long second before I touched her. The instant my palms met her shoulders, I felt it again. That trust. That quiet release. It was like her body knew something her mind still did not fully believe. I started slow, working the muscles gently, letting my focus stay on the simple physical truth of tension and relief. For a while, it almost felt normal. Then Lena spoke, her voice muffled but clear. "Can I ask you something personal?" "Sure." "Do you ever miss your wife?" The question hit a sore spot. I usually kept covered. I kept my hands moving. I missed the idea of who we were before things got hard. Lena was quiet. "Emma's mom doesn't come around much." "No," my throat tightened. "Seattle feels far even when it's only a flight." "I'm sorry," Lena murmured. "It is what it is." I said, but my voice betrayed me. It wasn't fine. It was never fine. Lena's hand clenched against the sheet. That's the thing I noticed about you, Daniel. You say it is what it is like. You're not allowed to want more. I stopped for half a beat, then forced myself to continue. Wanting more doesn't always get you more. No, she said softly, but it tells you you're alive. My thumbs found the knot at the base of her neck, and she inhaled sharply. I worked it carefully. That's it, she breathed. Right there. I kept my voice low. You've been carrying this like armor. Stephen used to say my tension was my fault, she said, like I was choosing to be anxious. Anger flared in me again, hot and steady. He's wrong. I know that now, she whispered. But sometimes my body still believes him. I didn't know how to respond to that with words. So I responded the only way I could. I kept my hands steady, gentle, present. Like I was telling her body the truth until it started believing it. Lena's breathing deepened. Her shoulders loosened, inch by inch. Then she said, Daniel. Yeah? Her voice turned softer, almost fragile. Do you ever think about dating again? My hands paused. Answer, she said. Not unkind, but firm. I exhaled slowly. I think about it sometimes. Then I think about Emma. And I think about how she trusts me to keep her world safe. And I get scared. So you just don't. I don't, I admitted. Lena shifted slightly, and her voice dropped even lower. And what about now? The room felt smaller. My hands were still on her shoulders, and I could feel heat under my palms. I could feel my own heartbeat in my wrists. Now, I said carefully, I'm thinking about how I should stop. And are you going to? She asked. I swallowed hard. I don't know. Lena's voice turned into a whisper. I want you to keep going. That should have been the moment I stepped back, but I didn't. Instead, I worked the knot until it finally released, and Lena let out a long, shaky breath that sounded like relief mixed with something else. When she spoke again, her voice was so quiet, it felt like a secret she was only brave enough to say in the dark. I think I'm starting to trust you. I felt my chest tighten. Lena. She lifted her head slightly, turning her face just enough that I could see her profile. You don't have to say anything, she whispered. Just don't lie to me. Do you feel this too? Quote. The truth hovered on my tongue like a confession. Yes, I said. Lena closed her eyes, and when she exhaled, it sounded like she had been holding her breath for years. Then she rolled onto her back slowly, like she was offering me her face, her eyes, her honesty. I stood at the head of the table looking down at her, her hair fanned out, her cheeks flushed. She looked vulnerable in a way that did not feel weak, just open. Same rules, I reminded her, but my voice was rough now. She nodded. I know. I worked along her neck, careful, controlled, but being able to see her face made everything harder. Every time her lips parted as she breathed, my focus slipped. Every time her eyes flickered open and met mine, I had to fight not to lean down. Daniel, she said again. Yeah. Her gaze held me. I want to kiss you. My entire body went hot. That's a bad idea, I said, even as my hands kept touching her. Tell me why, she whispered. Because Mark. Because Emma. Because Stephen. Because this might ruin us before it even starts. But the real reason was simpler and scarier. Because if I kiss you, I said, voice low, I'm not sure I'll be able to stop. Lena's hand lifted and found my wrist, fingers wrapping around me like she was anchoring herself. Then don't stop. She whispered. The room went still. The rain went quiet. My breath caught in my throat. And then, from downstairs, the bell over the front door chimed hard and sharp. Someone had just walked into the bookstore. The bell's sharp chimes sliced through the room like a warning. Lena's hand fell from my wrist. My hands lifted off her neck so fast it was like I had been burned. For a second we just stared at each other, both breathing hard, both trying to remember how to be normal humans again. Then we heard a voice from downstairs. Daniel? Mark called. You here? My blood turned to ice. Lena sat up on the massage table, eyes wide. Her hair was a mess, her cheeks flushed, and I knew I looked just as guilty. Not because anything had happened, but because something almost had, and Mark's timing could not have been worse. "He's not supposed to be back until Saturday," I whispered. Lena's voice came out thin. "It is Saturday." I froze. My brain scrambled. Days blurred when you were stressed and not sleeping. She was right. Mark was back early. And now he was downstairs in his own store, calling my name. "Daniel?" Mark called again, closer this time. I moved fast. I handed Lena her jacket. "Put this on, now." She slid into it, fingers shaking. I grabbed the dust cover and threw it back over the massage table like that could erase what almost happened. Like it could hide the tension in the room. Lena stepped toward the door. "I should go out the back." "There is no back exit upstairs," I said. "Just stay calm. Let me handle it." Her eyes flashed. "Handle it how, Daniel? By lying?" That hit me hard because it was the truth. The old version of me would have lied, would have smoothed it over, protected the friendship at any cost, even if it meant betraying Lena. But I had already promised her something upstairs. No secrets. I took a breath and nodded once. No, not lying. We went downstairs together. Mark was standing near the front counter, raindrops on his jacket, like he had walked in from the storm outside. He looked surprised to see Lena with me, then suspicious, then concerned, all in the space of one heartbeat. "Lena?" he said. "What are you doing here?" Lena held her chin up. "I came by to talk to Daniel." Mark's eyes shifted to me, sharp as a blade. "Talk." The words sounded like an accusation. I forced myself to stay steady. "Mark, sit down, please." His mouth twisted. "No, I'm not sitting down. I'm standing right here, and you're going to tell me what's going on." Lena looked at me, like she was giving me one last chance to do the right thing. I did. "Something happened Thursday night," I said. "Lena came here after Stephen showed up at her apartment. She was shaken. She needed somewhere safe to sit." Mark's expression changed, anger and worry fighting for control. "Stephen was there again?" "Yes," Lena said. "And I didn't want to be alone." Mark's jaw clenched, and for a second his eyes softened at her. Then he looked back at me, and the softness disappeared. "And where do you come in, Daniel?" I swallowed. I helped her, made coffee, let her sit. Then she asked if I could work out a knot in her shoulder. I did. Mark stared at me like he was waiting for the rest. Like he knew there had to be more. Lena spoke before I could. "It wasn't inappropriate." Mark's laugh was short and sharp, not happy. "You think that's what I'm worried about? You think I'm worried about my sister's shoulder?" He stepped closer, eyes locked on me. "Daniel, that's my sister. You're my best friend. There are lines." "I know," I said quietly. "And you crossed one," he snapped, "the second you put your hands on her upstairs in my store." My stomach dropped because he said upstairs like he knew. Lena's voice rose. I asked him to help me. Mark turned on her. "You shouldn't have." "Lena, you're not thinking clearly." "I am thinking clearly," she shot back, and her voice shook with anger. "I'm tired of people acting like I'm fragile." Mark's shoulders fell slightly, like her words hurt him more than mine. "I'm not trying to control you. I'm trying to protect you." "From what?" Lena demanded. "From a kind man who treated me like a person instead of a possession?" Mark's eyes flashed. "From you getting attached to the first decent man you've been around since your divorce." The words hit Lena like a slap. I saw her flinch. I stepped forward without thinking. "Don't talk to her like that." Mark stared at me, and something in his face hardened. "So you are attached." I opened my mouth, then closed it. There was no clean way out of this. No safe middle ground. Lena's hand found mine. It was small and warm and steady. She did it on purpose, right there in front of him. Mark saw it. His face went pale. "Oh," he said quietly. "So that's what this is." Lena's voice softened, but it was firm. "Mark, we weren't trying to hide anything from you. We didn't even know what this was yet, but it matters." Mark's eyes went to our joined hands again, then back to me. "Does Emma know?" "No," I said immediately. "Emma is not part of this right now. She comes first, always." Mark's jaw tightened. "Good, because if you bring my sister into your daughter's life and then break her heart, you'll destroy both of them." The protectiveness in him was real. I understood it. I shared it. But I also knew he was about to try to solve this the way he solved everything. By ending it. "Mark," I said, voice steady even though my heart was pounding. "I'm not playing with her. I'm not using her. I didn't plan this, but it happened." Mark's eyes narrowed. "And you think that makes it okay?" "No," I admitted. "I think it makes it real." The silence that followed felt like the whole bookstore was holding its breath. Mark looked at Lena. "Are you sure?" Quote. Lena didn't hesitate. "Yes." Mark's throat worked like he was swallowing something bitter. "You're scared. You're exhausted. You've got Stephen in your head. And you think this is the answer?" Lena stepped forward, still holding my hand. "It's not the answer. It's a chance. And I'm tired of letting fear make my choices." Mark's eyes went shiny, and for a second I saw the brother beneath the anger, the brother who hated seeing his sister hurt. Then he turned back to me. "If you hurt her," he said slowly, "I'm done with you. 15 years. Gone." I nodded. "I understand." "And if Stephen comes after her again," Mark added, voice hard, "you tell me. You don't try to be the hero alone." That surprised me. Mark was giving me a condition, not an ultimatum. Lena exhaled like she had been holding her breath. "Mark, are you saying you're okay with this?" Quote. "No," Mark said honestly. "I'm saying I can't stop it, and I'm saying I need time." He looked at Lena. "I love you." "I'm angry because I love you." Her eyes filled. "I love you too." Mark looked away fast, like he hated showing softness. Then he looked back at me. "I'm going home. Don't call me. Not right now." My chest tightened. "Mark." He held up a hand. "No, give me space. Let me breathe." Then he walked out. The bell chimed again as the door shut behind him, and the sound felt like a closing. Lena's shoulders sagged. That went exactly as bad as I thought. I pulled her closer gently, careful like she might shatter. "We told the truth. That matters." Her voice cracked. "It feels like I just lost my brother." "You didn't lose him," I said. "He's hurt. He'll come back." "He loves you too much not to." Lena looked up at me, fear in her eyes. "And what if he's right? What if I'm just clinging to you because I'm scared?" Quote. I didn't dodge it. "Then we go slow. We don't let this become a bandage. We make it something real, or we stop before it breaks us." Lena nodded, swallowing hard. "Okay." My phone buzzed then, and I glanced down. A text from Mrs. Chen. "Emma, asking when you'll be home. Everything okay?" Reality slammed back into my chest. Emma, the center of my world. The reason I couldn't be reckless. "I have to go," I said, voice tight. "Emma's waiting." Lena stepped back. "Of course." "Go." I hesitated, then reached out and kissed her forehead, a simple touch that still felt like a promise. "Are you going to be okay?" I asked. Lena's smile was small but steady. "I've survived worse. But Daniel, thank you for not running." I nodded. "I'm not going to run." I left the bookstore and drove home, gripping the steering wheel too hard. At home, I found Emma asleep on the couch again, blanket half off, her book open on her chest. I carried her upstairs and tucked her into bed, and she murmured, "Daddy," like she always did. I sat beside her for a long time, staring into the dark. My best friend was furious. Lena was scared and hopeful at the same time. Stephen was still out there like a shadow, and my daughter needed me steady. It would have been easier to choose the simple path, the safe path, the path that kept everything the same. But when I closed my eyes, all I could see was Lena's face upstairs, asking me not to abandon her, and I knew I couldn't go back to being a man who lived behind locked doors. My phone buzzed again. A new number. The message was short. "This is Stephen Harper. Stay away from my wife." My blood went cold, then hot. He knew. Which meant Lena wasn't just afraid. She was being watched. I stared at the screen, the words burning into my eyes, and I realized the line I crossed was not just between me and Lena. It was between safety and fight. And if Stephen was coming after her, then the next part of the story was not about a massage or a whisper. It was about whether I was willing to protect the woman I was starting to care about, even if it cost me everything.